Listen to what Karoline the Liar Leavitt said about the Democrat Party. I mean, this is at another level. We hear these Republicans say, stop calling us fascists, stop comparing us to Nazis and all this other stuff. Listen to what Karoline Leavitt said earlier today about the Democrat Party. It's so despicable.
That the Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. That is who the Democrat Party is catering to, not the Trump administration and not the White House and not the Republican Party, who is standing up for law-abiding Americans, not just across the country, but around the world.
You want to talk about absolutely and positively despicable. Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, just said that the Democrat Party is made up of Hamas, terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. I don't even know where to begin there, but first of all, if you're an illegal alien, you're not allowed to vote. Second of all, to claim that this horrible terrorist group are made up of Democrats is absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous. And to say the main makeup of the Democrat Party are a bunch of violent criminals is so factually inaccurate, and it's so ridiculous, and it's so sick. She is a sick, vile, evil human being. I don't care how many crosses she wears around her neck. Karoline Leavitt is despicable. And now we're learning that there's a second meeting with Vladimir Putin because that first meeting went so well when they rolled out the red carpet for him on American soil. That really ended the war, didn't it? And now we're learning of a second meeting that Donald Trump is going to be having because she claims, have a listen to this.
Do you believe any conditions have changed to make a second meeting with Putin better, more successful than the Alaska meeting?
I think the president is always willing to take a chance at diplomacy, and this war, he has always said, is going to have to end at the negotiating table, and so he never gives up, and he's willing to pursue it, and that's what you're hearing from the president today.
Yeah, he's really doing a great job. That first meeting went really well. That alleged peace deal in the Middle East is going really well. Ask the families of those victims who were executed by Hamas how well that peace deal is going. Or ask all the innocent people in Ukraine, the families who have lost loved ones, ending the war in 24 hours. How has Donald Trump done there? What a failure this guy is. The art of the deal, ladies and gentlemen. And boy, here's something to be really proud of. From Karoline Leavitt's lying Christian mouth. Thank God President Putin is congratulating Donald Trump for something that never happened. Have a listen to this.
Very good and productive call between the president and President Putin. They discussed many issues. President Putin congratulated the president for solving peace in the Middle East. They also discussed, of course, the Russia-Ukraine war, and they have agreed to convene a meeting of their high-level staff next week to continue these very important discussions, which may be followed by yet another meeting between President Trump and President Putin.
Oh, great. That first meeting went so well. It really accomplished a lot, embarrassing us on a world stage, throwing out the red carpet for an evil dictator. Yeah, isn't that wonderful, isn't it? So we have Vladimir Putin congratulating Donald Trump for something that never happened, which is peace in the Middle East. They broke the ceasefire in 2 days. Or maybe next she'll talk about how Vladimir Putin says that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. I mean, this is such an embarrassment at every single level. It's unbelievable. Karoline Leavitt just held a press conference earlier today. And I talked about this on Piers Morgan yesterday. And it's amazing to me, these fake Christians throughout the world, particularly here in the United States, those right-wing evangelicals who wear that cross on their neck. And a reporter asked Karoline Leavitt today, and I want to play this audio for you, where asked about what did the president mean by calling a female reporter Miss Piggy. Listen to her pathetic response to that.
Post tomorrow, and I'll let the president speak for himself. Natalie.
Thank you, Caroline. What did the president mean when he called a reporter Piggy?
Look, the president is very frank and honest with everyone in this room. You've all seen it yourself. You've all experienced it yourselves, and I think it's one of the many reasons that the American people reelected this president, because of his frankness. And he calls out fake news when he sees it. He gets frustrated with reporters when you lie about him, when you spread fake news about him and his administration. But he also is the most transparent president in history. And he gives all of you in this room, as you all know, unprecedented access You are in the Oval Office almost every day asking the president questions. And so I think the president being frank and open and honest to your faces rather than hiding behind your backs is frankly a lot more respectful than what you saw in the last administration, where you had a president who lied to your face and then didn't speak to you for weeks and hid upstairs and didn't take your questions. So I think everyone in this room should appreciate the frankness and the openness that you get from President Trump on a near daily basis.
Yeah, it's just being frank.
I couldn't even spin that.
I think we should all appreciate the fact that the President of the United States and the leader of the free world uses second-grade insults hurled at reporters that he doesn't like. That's being very frank. Yeah, and I'm sure Karoline Leavitt, as she said before, is raising her son to emulate this moron, Donald Trump. And she says we should be appreciative that, the president's just being frank when he hurls insults.
So what if we call her an idiot?
Yeah.
What if we say you're a liar and you're an idiot?
Well,
she goes, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I'm being frank.
When I call you an idiot, that's what I meant. I'm open and honest and transparent.
Idiot. So stupid. So the president, as you may or may not know, I'm sure you know about this, it is disgusting and repugnant that the president of the United States is literally threatening execution of Democrat lawmakers who put out an advertisement.
So they should be hanged.
Yeah. Basically, all they're saying is if you have illegal orders, don't follow through with them, which, by the way, is not against the law.
That's in the military code of conduct,
Exactly.
not to interrupt you.
And no, you're right, and I'm glad you said that, and Karoline Leavitt doesn't seem to understand that
You don't
either.
have to follow illegal orders.
Yeah. Listen to a reporter asking, why are you guys encouraging political violence? Because that's what this is all about. And listen to the liar, Karoline Leavitt's response.
Can I just follow up? The president and the vice president, for that matter, have accused the other side of encouraging political violence. Isn't that exactly what the president is doing when he says that members of Congress should be killed?
Why aren't you talking about what these members of Congress are doing to encourage and incite violence? They are literally saying to 1.3 million active duty service members not to defy the chain of command, not to follow lawful orders.
Actually,
Every single.
You can refuse an illegal order, which
But
is
they're suggesting, Nancy, that the president has given illegal orders, which he has not. Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful. And the courts have proven that. This administration has an unparalleled record at the Supreme Court because we are following the laws. We don't defy court orders. We do things by the books. And to suggest and encourage that active duty service members defy the chain of command is a very dangerous thing for sitting members of Congress to do. And they should be held accountable. And that's what the president wants to see.
Karoline Leavitt lying once again. These Democrat former service members.
None of that was true.
Are not telling members in our service members to not follow lawful orders. What they said in the advertisement, which we will be playing here in a few moments, is they said to not follow illegal orders, which is not against the law. Karoline Leavitt is lying once again.
She also said they don't defy court orders. They
How many
do.
times have they
She also said they win in the Supreme Court a lot because they're honest and transparent. That's not true. It's stacked with conservative judges. Everyone knows that.
We'll get back to this, by the way. I agree with you. We'll both have more to say on this. But just to kind of close out Karoline Leavitt's pathetic press conference today, and
it's embarrassing.
She looked very.
She looked uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be nice.
She has to defend name calling and the president calling out executing Democrats for doing nothing wrong. And as you know, Mamdani is going to be meeting with President Trump tomorrow. Which, by the way, I got to say this. I give him credit for going into the White House and trying to even talk to Trump. So I do give him credit for that. But listen to the language. Before this, I would imagine Mamdani wants a good faith
If Trump
meeting.
invited you, you would go.
Listen to Karoline Leavitt's language when asked about this meeting tomorrow.
I think you'll all hear from him directly. I also think I will just add, it speaks volumes that tomorrow we have a communist coming to the White House because that's who the Democrat Party elected as the mayor of the largest city in the country. I think it's very telling, but I also think it speaks to the fact that President Trump is willing to meet with anyone and talk to anyone and to try to do what's right on behalf of the American people, whether they live in blue states or red states or blue cities, in a city that's becoming much more left than I think this president ever anticipated in his many years of living in New York.
Let me be very clear on this. You blonde bimbo. Sick excuse for
You're
a
just
human
being
being.
honest.
You evil, hateful, fake Christian, lying piece of human excrement whose husband is the crypt keeper, by the way. You're so embarrassed by your husband's appearance that you have to Photoshop your family pictures because he's like twice your age. Let me be very clear on this. What Karoline Leavitt is doing here is so despicable, and they want to attack the left for calling people Nazis and calling people fascist. And those same people, like the press secretary, and what I would hope would be a good faith meeting by Mamdani, and all the name calling and what Trump is, he still wants to meet with Trump because he wants to work on behalf of his constituents, which, by the way, I appreciate. And you have the gall to call him a communist the day before this meeting.
He defined himself. He's a democratic socialist.
Yeah.
He said it.
Yeah.
Communism, and as a mayor, Brian, just so I don't want to get into the communist conversation,
Yeah.
as a philosophy, you couldn't institute communism as a mayor if you had 50 years to do it. It's just not possible.
I agree.
That is something that's done on a grand scale to an entire civilization.
I agree. And I'm going to say this over and over again, and I really don't care, to Karoline Leavitt, who I think is an utterly despicable human being. I hope you burn in hell. I really do.
What about the Christian part that says don't bear false witness against your
let's
neighbor?
forget about.
Can I just ask you, did she read that part?
Let's forget about any of Jesus' teachings, because you couldn't name me one policy put forth by MAGA that would go along the lines of Jesus and what he would want. And she tried to. Keep in mind, this is Karoline Leavitt saying that this is a hoax, using the same language that Donald Trump uses about the Epstein files. Have a listen to this.
Requests. So this administration has done more than any, and it just shows how this is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party. For now, they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office. But when Joe Biden was sitting in there, the Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue that they cared about because they actually don't care about the victims in these cases. They care about trying to score political points against President Trump, as we have, of course, seen with this government shutdown.
Yeah, there you go. Leonard, it's a Democrat hoax.
Okay, but when it wasn't a Democrat hoax, when Dan Bongino was talking about it,
Right.
and Kash Patel, and they were licking their chops saying, oh, all these Democrats are part of a worldwide net of people that exchange children and young girls, and they thought they were going to get Bill Clinton and some of the Democrats and some of the big names, and they were salivating. Yeah. They couldn't wait for it to come out. All of a sudden, Trump gets elected, and it's like nothing to see here, and
exactly.
43,000 pages of emails, and there really wasn't much in there. But they haven't released everything, and that may happen today.
I hope so. But in these emails, we learned that Jeffrey Epstein says that Trump was not only in his house but spent hours with one of the alleged victims. Karoline Leavitt is asked that question.
Yeah.
Hey, did this really happen? Listen to again a mega moron in Karoline Leavitt dodge the question. Listen to this.
Caroline.
Sure.
I have your statement about the new Epstein emails that have been released by House Democrats. Separate from why you believe the emails were made public, can you address their substance? Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep.
Wait, attention lying bimbo. That wasn't the question. I know you believe Donald Trump didn't do anything wrong. The question wasn't, do you believe the president did anything wrong? That wasn't the question. The question was specifically in regards to these emails, which was, and Jiang is a great reporter, by the way. I think she's wonderful. She said, did the president ever spend hours at Epstein's house with a victim?
So just yes then.
Did she?
She didn't answer.
Did she respond? Did she answer the question?
And remember, in 2001, 2002, Trump was quoted as saying that Jeffrey Epstein was a very good friend. Did he not say that?
Of course he did. I'm sorry, Leonard, did she answer the question?
Do I have to answer that? Because it's really important that I answer the question with full substance, and
Okay.
Trump did nothing
So
wrong.
obviously the
so you're
answer-
not going to answer?
Anytime they don't answer a question, it would make Donald Trump look bad. So obviously the answer is yes. And she knows she can't
It's
deny
in
it.
the email. All
Right.
she had to do was say, look, it's in the email, but we don't have the context. We can't prove anything. But yes, they did say that in the email,
And
that
listen-
he spent hours with, they think,
at least-
Virginia Giuffre.
At least I would have had a minimal amount of respect for her if she answered the question in that way. But she didn't, and then she says it's a hoax again. So we've learned, not because the White House has released this information, even though they claim they did, it was leaked by another media agency, that Donald Trump and White House officials are privately behind closed doors meeting with Lauren Boebert.
I bet they are.
And Nancy Mace. Now, these are two women that I despise. I think they're despicable human beings. However, so far on this Epstein stuff, I've been on their side. Why? Like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others. They want the Epstein files to be released, and they've signed off on it. What does Donald Trump need to do? He needs to convince some of these Republicans not to sign off and vote for releasing the files. So we all know why they've had
Well, they're
private-
making offers. I can only imagine what they're offering to give them. I can't, my mind can't even go there, what they're going to be willing to do to change those
Besides
votes.
that, how many times does Donald Trump have closed-door private meetings with Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace? Like never. But it just so happens that they had those meetings today, the day that Democrats released these files. I find that to be a little bit of a coincidence, but apparently Karoline Leavitt doesn't think so. Have a listen.
Government reopening because of Republicans and President Trump.
But given your interest
Reagan.
in transparency, Caroline, why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please? Doesn't that show our level of transparency? Doesn't that show the level of transparency when we are willing to sit down with members of Congress and address their concerns? That is that's a defining factor of transparency. Having discussions with members of Congress about various issues, and I'm not going to detail conversations that took place in the Situation Room in the press briefing room. Reagan.
Discussions about, quote, various issues. What are those issues? What did you call Lauren Boebert to talk about Beetlejuice? Did you talk to her about food stamps and health care?
Well, the Democrats were on this morning on the news saying, yeah, they have those meetings. Yeah, they're transparent, but the Dems never get it. The Oversight Committee never gets the content of those conversations.
Right.
So they're being transparent in a room behind closed door with their own people.
What were those
Let's
various
get it
issues?
right.
I'm just going to go out on a limb here, Leonard, and you can tell me whether you disagree with me or not. I'm going to go out on a limb and make an assumption. On the morning where very damning emails from Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell are released by Democrats, having private conversations with the president and Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace, two of the Republicans, two of the few, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, two of the few, they've given up on Marjorie, by the way, two of the few Republicans that have voted that they want to release the Epstein files, all of a sudden Donald Trump has private meetings with them. And Karoline, the liar Leavitt, says they were talking about
And
various
it's not transparent,
issues.
Brian.
Various issues? Really? Various issues?
Transparent? No. There's no one knows the contents of those meetings. How can you call that?
I can tell you what it is. I can tell you what those contents of those meetings are right now. Donald Trump is trying to strong-arm Beetlejuice and Nancy the disgrace.
Yeah.
He is literally trying to strong-arm them and probably threatening them that if they vote to release the
would be my
files,
guess.
their political careers are going to be over. That is exactly what is going on. So when Karoline Leavitt says they're talking about various issues, no, they're not. They're only talking about one issue, releasing the Epstein files, and they're threatening these two women, and I guarantee you these two despicable people will cave. And all it would take for somebody with a backbone, which they don't have, to hold a press conference and say, Donald Trump just threatened me. Now, it would be political suicide, but at least you would have some sort of dignity if you said, Donald Trump threatened me because I want to release the Epstein files because I want the victims to get justice. That is exactly what is going on behind closed doors. Now, the questions, and I give the press credit today because they did press Karoline Leavitt on this. And another member of the media asked about Prince Andrew testifying in front of Congress about Epstein. Now, obviously, MAGA Republicans don't want that to happen, but listen to the way she responds to this question.
Some Democratic members of Congress have invited Britain's former Prince Andrew to testify on the Epstein scandal. I was just wondering if President Trump thinks that former Prince Andrew should indeed come and testify to Congress on that.
I haven't spoken to him about that specific matter, but I can ask him and get back to you.
I'm sure you will. That's a Mike Johnson answer. I don't know anything about that, so I can't comment on
Yeah,
it.
Prince Andrew's going to answer the phone for her.
Yeah.
And have that
You
conversation.
dumb bimbo, you lying dumb bimbo, you. That's what you are, Caroline. You're a lying dumb bimbo and a fake Christian.
Prince Andrew's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll make a deal.
Here's what I want. I want him under oath, and I want Jack Smith under oath.
In the
too.
movie theater.
Yeah.
With Boebert. No, we can't.
I
It's not even funny.
At Beetlejuice. So then the question comes up to Ghislaine Maxwell, who, by the way, we've also learned this week through Democrats that she is allowed to have a dog.
God, I want to live like that.
She gets like basically room service. She's allowed to play tennis and be outside as long as she would like. She gets preferential treatment with guests that are able to come in.
She gets to go escorted to the gym at night by herself when no one else is around.
Yeah.
Guests can bring in computers, which is unheard of.
Completely.
In a prison facility.
So now that we've learned all those revelations in the last week, oh, wait a second. Are you going to be pardoning Maxwell? Notice in her answer, when I'm talking about Leavitt, she never says no. Listen to the question and listen to the way Caroline, the lying bimbo Leavitt, answers.
Stephen, go ahead.
Well, if the president is considering a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Again, he's answered this repeatedly. It's not something he's talking about or even thinking about at this moment in time. I can assure you of that. Steve.
Don't you think that if Joe Biden or Barack Obama, and I keep saying this over and over again, were asked about the possible pardon of one of the biggest sex traffickers in the history of this country, and anybody within the administration didn't flat out say no, don't you think Republicans would have a huge problem with
How
that?
about no? How about the answer is no? She's a child sex trafficker, so we're not considering that.
They won't do that.
What
You know
about
why?
that answer?
You know why? Because I can almost guarantee you that by the end of
I
Donald
think it's already done.
It might be, but by the end of Donald Trump's administration, I could almost guarantee you that one of the biggest sex traffickers on the planet, who is being treated like a VIP celebrity at Club Med, will be pardoned by Donald Trump. And I don't know. There are some MAGA people out there that are still making excuses. Why didn't the Democrats do this 4 years ago? This is here nor there. It's clickbait. I think the Republican Party put out a generic statement saying this is clickbait. That's what it is. It's clickbait. What do you mean it's clickbait? The reason why Democrats release this is to show...
Clickbait is semi-accurate, shocking
Right.
news that catches a title. This is not clickbait.
No, this isn't
This is
clickbait.
what's really happening every day. This is actually happening.
They are protecting the pedophile in chief in Donald Trump, and they are also protecting one of the biggest sex traffickers in the world, the Trump administration is, in Maxwell. This is not clickbait. This is who you voted for, you MAGA clowns, you.